2 News at noon starts now.
And we begin with breaking news in the downtown Spokane backpack bomb investigation. Good afternoon. I'm Sten Wallstrom. Right now, the FBI is executing a search warrant in Stevens County near the town of Addy, and we're told at least one person has been arrested. Witnesses tell us this is happening at 12 Mile Road and Townsend-Saxman Road, just off of Highway 395, as we show you there on the map.
Now at 5. The FBI has broken the case of the deadly backpack bomber wide open. Federal officials swarmed the small Stevens County town of Addy this morning, and by this afternoon, the man suspected of planting that bomb was in federal court in Spokane.
Crim 2 News at 5 starts now.
Good evening, and thank you for being with us. I'm Rodney Shaw. Jane has a night off. After 7 weeks of investigation, the FBI this morning honed in on a prime suspect in Stevens County. A search warrant was executed in a mobile home near 12 Mile Road and Townsend-Saxman Road. That's in the town of Addy. And there they arrested Kevin Harpum, a former member of the U.S. Army and a reported neo-Nazi. Now he's accused of building the deadly bomb. All day long online and on air, we've been all over this story. We have Crim 2 News team coverage for you right now. Katie Udis was at the district courthouse as Harpum made his first court appearance a short time ago. Cole Heath talked to the mayor of Spokane and other top officials about it. First, Danielle Grant has been up in Stevens County all day. She's live with how the arrest came down.
Randy, this arrest was a huge development in the case. Just behind me, you'll notice the actual area, the road that leads up to Kevin Harpum's home is still blocked off at this point. But again, earlier this morning is where those officials made the search warrant. Now that, again, is where the FBI did the search warrant at his home. We're told that the raid went smoothly. No one was hurt. Harpum was arrested outside his home, and authorities say he surrendered peacefully. Law enforcement officials say that it wasn't a tip that led them to the suspect, but rather the forensics on the backpack. Neighbors we talked to say that they woke up to loud noises this morning. They heard, they actually went outside. They saw some road crews out there working, but it wasn't just that long after they heard a loud explosion. That's when Kevin Coy, one of the neighbors, stepped outside his front door and saw all the commotion and knew something big was happening.
The vehicles are all nondescript, nobody's wearing anything, and all of a sudden I start seeing Kevlar helmets and night vision scopes and tactical assault rifles and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, whoa, something's going down around here, I don't know what, but apparently it's pretty big.
And a short time later, Coy says that crews hauled away a blue Honda Civic. He believes that car belonged to another one of his neighbors. The back window of that car was completely smashed out. Now, folks that I talked to, those neighbors, they kind of talked to the FBI. They said that they were from Seattle as well as Spokane that were out here earlier this morning that did that raid. Now, coming up in my live report at 6 o'clock, we're going to talk to those neighbors exactly about who Kevin Harpum is and what they have to say about him. Reporting live, Danielle Grant, Crim 2 News.
The law enforcement sources say it was forensics on the bomb, not some tip that led them to this suspect. Again, Kevin Harpum was arrested at his mobile home, no resistance. He just appeared in federal district court here in Spokane. Crim 2's Katie Udis was there. She has more on the charges this guy now faces.
Randy, we're on location where the bomb was found, and it's just blocks away from the federal courthouse, and that's where we got our first look at Kevin Harpum this afternoon. Now, cameras are not allowed in the federal courthouse, but we do have this sketch of him. Let me show you the sketch and also describe his demeanor and what he looked like in court today. He was shackled and handcuffed when he came in. He answered yes and no to the judge's questions very simply. He was wearing a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. He also had light brown hair and a mustache, no visible tattoos. Now, our cameras were the only ones rolling this afternoon when his defense attorney spoke to media outside of the courtroom. He says he's not seeking bail at this time.
The hearing would be set within a couple days, and that's not sufficient time in a case like this to do the kind of investigation I'd like to do. We can always bring a hearing at any time, so to rush it didn't seem to make sense.
He even says he doesn't know much about his client, Kevin Harpum. Harpum's first charge is attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction. A conviction of that crime carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. The second charge is possession of an unregistered explosive device. Now, that is a maximum of 10 years if convicted. The probable cause document is sealed at this point, so even the defense doesn't know much about the government's case against Harpum. Now, the grand jury will meet on the 22nd, and that's when the indictment will take place, if it does take place, and also when the defense will get to look at the probable cause document. And the defense could choose to do a bail hearing at any point. Reporting live, Katie Udis, KREM 2 News.
Now, we reported just a couple of days after the bomb was discovered that a couple of T-shirts were found inside this backpack bomb, and those shirts originated from the town of Chewelah. That's the same area of today's arrest. One T-shirt came from last year's Stevens County Relay for Life, the other from Stage Time Theater School's production of Treasure Island. The FBI had been following those clues closely. Organizers for Stage Time Theater told us the FBI did several interviews up there with them. Now, from the start, officials have called the backpack bomb sophisticated. It was placed on a metal bench with a brick wall to one side for maximum force aimed toward the street and the parade route. Officials say that it was possibly made by someone with a military background, maybe a member of a hate group. That also describes the prime suspect now in this case. KREM 2's Othello Richards looked into Kevin Harpum's past. He joined us now live with more.
While researchers at the Southern Poverty Law Center, a small civil rights group, tells us that Kevin Harpum apparently spent time in the military in the mid-90s.
I just heard about it this morning, and I'm just really surprised. Kevin's kind of a quiet kid, and so I was really taken back by it.
Matt Taylor lives across from Kevin Harpum's parents' home in Kettle Falls. The last time Taylor says he saw Kevin was last summer.
He's been down helping his dad out on his farm. His dad had mentioned to me that Kevin was going to take over his farm, and so he was showing him, how to, they grow alfalfa and stuff like that, and he was just down there helping them out.
Taylor says Harpum has ties to the Kettle Falls community that goes far back. This is his 1990 yearbook picture taken during Harpum's sophomore year at Kettle Falls High School. The district superintendent tells us he did not graduate from there, and he does not know from where. What we have learned from researchers at the Southern Poverty Law Center is Harpum was apparently in the military from 1996 to 1997. Records suggest Harpum was part of the 1st Battalion, 37th Field Artillery Regiment at Fort Lewis, Washington. The law firm reported in 2006 that Fort Lewis was one of several military installations with a concentration of secret extremist members. Along the same lines, the law firm, which tracked the white supremacist movement, says they have record of Harpum being a member of the Neo-National Alliance in 2004. It is not known when Harpum joined or if he is still a member. One local we talked to tell us around that same time, a white supremacist group went around town trying to recruit members. Now, we have also learned that Harpum was a registered voter, and he voted in the November general election last year, and as the law states that felons cannot vote, so we can conclude that Harpum is not a felon. Reporting live with Othello Richards, KREM 2 News.
We talked at length with the Southern Poverty Law Center today. They track white supremacist groups, as you heard. And tonight on KREM 2 News at 6 o'clock, you're going to hear their detailed information about this group called the National Alliance and how it's linked to the Aryan nations. You're also going to hear about the staggering list of violent acts involving this group, the National Alliance. Spokane police officers were, of course, instrumental in finding that bomb before it went off and rerouting the Martin Luther King Jr. parade. They also played a key role in cooperating with the FBI during all this investigation. We had a chance to talk with Police Chief Ann Kirkpatrick in Seattle today about the arrest.
Historically, we have had some white supremacy history in that region. And as far as concerns, it's certainly not reflective of Spokane and Spokane City. So even when this event occurred, it was absolutely an offense to the community of Spokane. This is not reflective of who we are. We indeed embrace diversity.
The backpack bomb has grabbed the attention of the nation for 2 months now. During a news conference today, right along the U.S.-Mexico border, the U.S. Attorney, Eric Holder, asked about the apprehension of Kevin Harpum.
An arrest has been made in connection with the attempt to place a bomb at the Martin Luther King Day parade in Spokane. It was a viable device. It was planted with the aim of injuring or killing people, and we were fortunate that it did not go off and that people were in fact, not killed. We're just lucky in that regard.
Anytime you see news break, we hope you'll let us know. And you can email us as well, or even just post a comment on our Facebook wall. We're still working on many angles of this developing story tonight. Our news crew is still on the scene up in Stevens County. Plus, we're going to hear from Spokane's mayor about developments in the case. Don't go away. FBI officials surround a rural mobile home, arresting the man accused of building a deadly bomb and planting it in downtown Spokane. Authorities say the person who made that bomb probably had military training, and indeed the suspect, Kevin Harpum, does. Tonight, we're digging around into his background, including his ties with a violent white supremacist group.
Crim 2 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening and thank you for being with us. I'm Randy Shaw. Jane has a night off. A law enforcement source says forensic evidence on the backpack bomb itself, found in downtown Spokane, is what led them to the prime suspect, Kevin Harpum. He appeared in federal court this afternoon to face charges. We have spent the day learning more about his past, including his military background and his ties to a violent white supremacist group. First Crim 2's Danielle Grant has been in Addy, Washington all day, near the mobile home where Harpum was arrested. She has the latest developments in the investigation.
Randy, the FBI has been working for close to 2 months trying to solve this case, and today's arrest was a huge breakthrough for them. Now, behind me is the road that leads up to Kevin Harpum's home. Now, that is where earlier this morning the FBI served that search warrant. We're told that the raid went smoothly and that no one was hurt. Harpum was arrested outside of his home, and authorities say he surrendered peacefully. We talked with a woman at the local gas station who says Harpum is a regular there. Neighbors that live close to him say he's lived in Addy for years and just likes to keep to himself.
I know that he's pretty reclusive. He's got a lot of dogs. I got another neighbor that lives near him who attempted to have a conversation with him recently outside at the fence, and he basically told him to get the F off his property and don't come back. And so he's not a real likable guy, and he doesn't really want to make friends with anybody around here.
And law enforcement officials say that it wasn't a tip that led them to this arrest, but actually the forensics on the backpack that led them to this day into arresting Kevin Harpum. Reporting live, Danielle Grant, Crim 2 News.
Authorities initially looked at possibilities the suspect might have ties to white supremacy groups, and it appears they were right. Crim 2's Tova Tupper is live now with Harpum's ties to a group called the National Alliance.
We talked to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a national organization that tracks the white supremacist movement, and they say that Harpum was a member of this neo-Nazi movement or organization called the National Alliance. Now, this is their website. You can see they have their racist views front and center as they're advertising a yellow ribbon magnet that says, "Bring our troops home and put them on the Mexican border." The Law Center told us that Harpum was a member of the National Alliance in 2004. 40 minutes ago, the National Alliance called us and said Harpum is not currently a member, and the group says it has never heard the name. The National Alliance says it has zero tolerance for any kind of illegal activity. The Law Center says the National Alliance was one of the most prominent hate groups in America for decades, with about 2,000 total members. It had its national heyday in the 80s and 90s, the same time as the Aryan nations peaked here in the inland Northwest. And the Law Center says the two groups had ties.
But the Aryan Nation served as a gathering area in the Northwest for various types of racist extremists, including at times National Alliance members. The National Alliance is actually headquartered out of West Virginia, but today the group is a shadow of its former self. It just has a handful of members.
The National Alliance started declining in 2002 with the death of its founder, William Pierce. Pierce was known for writing the Turner Diaries. The Law Center calls the Turner Diaries a race war novel referred to as the Bible of the radical right. The novel has also been associated with real-life crimes. Some people have suggested that a scene from the book depicting a suspect preparing to bomb the FBI national headquarters served as the inspiration for Timothy McVeigh's Oklahoma City bombing. But the National Alliance was also about creating real violence, as the Law Center explained to us today.
At one point, a National Alliance members were involved in a white supremacist terrorist group that was involved in bank robbings and a murder of a Jewish talk show host in Denver. This was in the 1980s. But there have been many, many incidents after that involving violence with National Alliance members, so I can't say that we were that surprised to find out that a person who was trying to bomb a peaceful MLK parade might well have connections to the National Alliance.
The group she's referring to that had National Alliance members in that killed the Denver talk show host was called The Order. The Order was a group that was also encouraged violence in the Northwest during the 80s, and we're still trying to discover more information about his connection to this neo-Nazi alliance, and we'll have more information. We'll bring it to you as soon as we can. Reporting live, Tova Tupper, Crumb 2 News.
Well, Harpum was in the military, the U.S. Army, for a year. That, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center as well. Records show that he was part of the 1st Battalion, 37th Field Artillery Regiment at Fort Lewis between 1996 and 97. According to the center, in 1996, Fort Lewis was one of several U.S. military installations with a concentration of secret extremist members. Harpum was an Army reservist from 1999 until he was discharged in 2003. Well, FBI agents surrounded a rural mobile home near Addie, Washington this morning. Curious neighbors actually called us up this morning as it was all taking place. Crumb 2's Othello Richards talked to some neighbors about the arrest.
Well, everybody we talked to here in Addie and the surrounding communities basically had the same reaction.
We woke up this morning and heard the news, and it was very surprising because this is usually a peaceful place, and we had no idea this stuff was going on.
Steve Teehee and his wife Carol live just down the road from where federal agents and law enforcement have camped out all day. Word spread fast about the arrest of one of the locals, 36-year-old Kevin Harpum. Very few people we talked to knew him, but all are aware of the backpack bomb left on the MLK parade route in downtown Spokane.
Just such a violent act, or even the thought of it, and and it's just, I think, in today's climate, in the political world and all the troubles, we're having, that, people would actually do stuff like that.
Does it surprise you that somebody could be suspected in the area of doing something like this?
Not really, because there are some creeps out here too. I mean, I guess anywhere you live, it doesn't matter where you are, there's going to be people out there like that. So.
We're a little concerned about it because it's very close to here.
The Teehees have watched updates on the news throughout the day, trying to learn as much as they can.
When you buy acreage out in the country and you're not all packed in together really nice and tight, you go there for the peace and the quiet and country living. And to have somebody just really close making bombs is very disconcerting.
At this point, Kevin Harpum, of course, has not been convicted, but people still find his arrest troubling. Reporting live in Addie, Othello Richards, Crumb 2 News.
Well, many minorities in the parade have told us they felt personally targeted by this backpack bomb situation. The president of the local NAACP spoke with us this afternoon, and Crumb 2's Cole Heath is live in downtown Spokane with more on that.
Well, as you can imagine, President V.N. Smith is very relieved and excited for today's arrest. She praises local law enforcement and the FBI for the breakthrough in the hate crime.
I am originally from the South, so I not being born here in the Pacific Northwest, you know about these things. And you know that you must continue to keep working and pushing, because I think Dr. King said, with hate, you do love. You cannot do anything with hate. Hate is not, I always said, no baby is born with hate. And there's no DNA to show us hate. It has to be taught. And I feel so sorry for an individual who would hate so intensely and so deep that you want to destroy just people. I don't think he realized what he would have done to this community.
Mrs. Smith tells me the MLK bomb threat is most likely not the end of hate crime threats in our community. However, that won't stop her from trying to rally the community to live without hate and work together. I also spoke with Spokane Mayor Mary Berner. She calls today massive progress. I also caught up with Reverend Happy Watkins. You may remember that he reads the I Have a Dream speech every year at the MLK rally. He tells me that he plans on forgiving the suspected bomber. Reporting live, Cole Heath, Crumb 2 News.
Still ahead, the arrest of the bombing suspect comes after 7 weeks of investigation. It has a lot of people breathing a sigh of relief tonight. Plus, we'll have a live interview with the Spokane County Sheriff, Ozzie Knezovich, about this huge break in the case. We'll be right back.